This is my biofuels project over ethanol. Ethanol is a fuel that's formed from biomass, which makes it a biofuel. It can be formed in about four different ways, which will be discussed later. Um, its presence can enhance the toxicity of a solution, so if it's added to water, for example, the water will become toxic. It's also known as ethyl alcohol or fermentation alcohol, which relates to how it's formed. At room temperature is a clear, colorless liquid with the chemical formula C2H5OH, and it is commonly found in gasoline as E10 or E85. Ethanol is made in a few different ways, which would be through cellular respiration and fermenting the sugars from different plants and starches, through starch fermentation, sugar fermentation, and cellulosic ethanol production, and each will depend on yeast or microorganisms. As for starch fermentation, grains with high amounts of starch, most commonly corn, are mixed with water, and then amylase breaks down these starches into different sugars, which yeast is then added, which breaks down the sugars even more, and then ethanol and carbon dioxide are made from the yeast, and the sugar is filtered and distilled, which makes pure ethanol. Sugar fermentation is pretty much the exact same process. It starts with a plant with a high natural sugar, such as sugarcane. So it is mixed from water to form a sugar-water solution. Yeast is added. Carbon dioxide and ethanol are also made again, and then the mixture is filtered and distilled to make pure ethanol. As for cellulosic ethanol production, there are two different ways that this way can be used through enzymatic hydrolysis and gasification syngas fermentation. So these ways are a little bit more difficult than sugar and starch fermentation, but they are more environmentally friendly. As for enzymatic hydrolysis, enzymes, which is most commonly cellulase, is added to pure cellulose, which is then broken down into polysaccharides and then monosaccharides through hydrolysis, and then microorganisms in this mixture make cellulose monosaccharides into cellulosic pure ethanol. As for gasification syngas fermentation, dry cellulose is burned in a low oxygen chamber to produce syngas, which is made of mainly carbon dioxide and hydrogen molecules. So syngas is then sent to a bioreactor where microorganisms within the bioreactor feed on the syngas, which produces ethanol. So ethanol is very developed and is widely used in many different ways, most commonly gasoline, as mentioned earlier, and it is available in many common items such as rubber, mouthwash, alcohol, cleaning products, plastic, dyes, and others. Ethanol actually has a really good carbon footprint and not a negative one. So ethanol is produced naturally, so it doesn't pose a great threat to the environment, but it actually helps the environment through reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 8%. It does not harm groundwater. It reduces the emissions of carbon monoxide and gasoline, and it also generally reduces tailpipe pollution. So ethanol has had some great economic impacts, as in 2022, ethanol production created 79,000 new jobs in rural areas. It accounted for $57 million of the United States GDP and generated about 34.8 billion in household income. So the production of ethanol is very well communicated, especially through the USDA, specifically the BCAP, allows for farmers who make and deliver products used to make ethanol and other biofuels are entitled to a 50% reimbursement to create more. And then for herbaceous feedstocks and wood feedstocks, an annual payment for 5 to 15 years is also given. And then the BCAP also provides up to $20 per dried ton of biofuel components for production, harvest, transportation, and storage costs, along with up to $250 million in grants to farmers who would like to begin producing ethanol products. So through my research on ethanol, I believe that it is a great environmentally friendly biofuel, and because it's helping millions of Americans, whether it's both economically and or environmentally, it is useful, it is not toxic, it's just great. I believe that from this we should attempt to find a purely or create a purely ethanol gasoline since it already reduces emissions, why not try and eliminate them altogether? So for a plan of action, I believe that we should make a new type of gasoline composed solely of ethanol without needing to buy a new car. So I believe that we should test different types of gasolines with increasing ethanol contents to not harm car engines. So start from E10 all the way up to E100 and also make it cheaper than gasoline since it's being pushed so far. So these are my sources that I used to make this presentation. Thank you for listening.